Hello everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Destiny video. We're going through some more cards in the Awakening set. So we have Lying in Wait, Yellow Villain Event, cost 1. Force an opponent to choose and discard cards from their hand down to the number of cards you have in your hand. I just picked up my second Jabba card and die today, so I'm looking at building the Jabba and Vader mill deck, so Elite Jabba, Single Vader, and I think this is going to go in that deck. Because if you're playing a deck that you're using, playing a lot of events, playing a lot of upgrades, you're going to have a fairly low hand size. So you just pay one resource, play this, and your opponent is going to have to discard down to however many cards you have in your hand. So it's a like an alternate mill condition kind of, where you can mill off of Jabba's dice. You can mill off something like Thermal Detonator, and then to have them mill even more, you pay your one resource, play Lying in Wait, and force them to lose a bunch of cards. Um, play this after somebody, for example, plays something like a Boundless Ambition, where if they draw up to their hand size. Let's say you only have Lying in Wait, you pay your one resource, play Lying in Wait, and force them to pretty much lose their entire hand. It's a nice way to get more mill out of mill decks than just the mill faces on the dice. So that's Lying in Wait. I'm probably going to throw this in that deck. I think it's an excellent way to, like empty your opponent's hand. Be right back with the next card. All right, we are now looking at Backup Muscle. This is one of my favorite cards in the game. Whenever I build yellow villains, I will always run Backup Muscle. Sometimes I run a yellow character, just to get access to cards like Backup Muscle. So in my Stormtrooper and Balatik deck, I could have went just with 4 Stormtroopers, but I decided I wanted access to a few yellow cards, so I threw Balatik in there, basically to get access to cards like Backup Muscle. So one resource to support, and after you play the support, place 3 damage on it. And as an action, you can exhaust the support to move 1 damage from it to a character, and it ignores shield, so it's unblockable damage. Essentially, you're getting 3 unblockable damage for 1 resource, which is huge. There was one game where I actually had um, both of my backup muscles out, loaded up with damage, and I would basically you're getting two unblockable damage per round with backup muscle. So you exhaust it, move the damage onto an opponent. It's great, especially if your opponent is shielded up and they only have 1 or 2 health left. This backup muscle, it's unblockable, so it'll go right through shields. And I have won games where character had 2 or 3 shields on him, but only 1 health left. So I played backup muscle. My opponent did their turn. My next turn, activate backup muscle, 1 damage to that character, and that character was defeated. So backup muscle is one of my favorite cards. It's very cheap, so just one resource gets you 3 damage. If you have 2 of them, you're paying 2 resources for 6 damage or 6 unblockable damage. The unblockable part makes it even better. So that's backup muscle. We'll be right back with the next card. All right, we are now back with my kind of scum. It's a support, villain support. 1 resource, and the support is after you resolve a die showing disrupt, you may exhaust the support to gain resources equal to the number of resources your opponent just lost. So this is a really cheap way, so it only costs 1. Cheap way to essentially get a good amount to get more and more resources. You only get the resource. You basically have to run dice that have a good amount of disrupt on them to really make use of this. So it's more like a control deck. You're going to deny them the resources they need to pay for things, and then you're going to exhaust this to gain those resources. So if you disrupt for 2, you exhaust the support, you get 2 resources. It's like I said, it's cheap. It gets you resources, and it goes well with probably not just in yellow. I would probably run this more in like yellow and red to get access to the big cards like ATST. So if you use this with something like ATST, you may get your ATST out even faster. So get the resources needed to pay for ATST, put that out, and then just roll massive damage with the ATST. The only downside is you basically do have to be playing a lot of Disrupt to really make it worthwhile. So that's the only thing about my kind of scum, but goes well with red. You get some big cards out of it possibly, and we're gonna move on to the next card. All right, now we are back with Underworld Connections. Another support, cost 2. As an action, you can exhaust it to gain one resource. So you do have to pay two for it initially, but then every round you're going to be getting one extra resource if you exhaust this each round. So that could be huge, especially if you tie it in with something like the card we just talked about, My Kind of Scum. You get your resources from disrupting with My Kind of Scum, and then you exhaust this to get one more resource. Just helps you earn your big cards faster. I've used this in my Politic and Troopers deck, where I exhausted this, got my fifth resource, and then was able to play endless ranks because I was getting resources off of this. So it does take some setup because you do have to pay out two resources to get it started. So it is something that you play. Like if you have it in your opening hand, it's a good hand card to have. Pay your two resources, get this out, exhaust it, get a resource, and the next round you basically will always have one extra resource. That is Underworld Connections, and we're going to move into the last card we're going to talk about today. And the final card we're looking at today is an upgrade. It's Prize Possession. It's a unique, so you can only have one of it out at a time. It's kind of expensive. It costs 4 resources. And after you play this upgrade, you may remove an opponent's character die and place it here. It is not rolled by any character and does not return to the character unless this upgrade leaves play. It's a dice control card, essentially. Play it. Let's say your opponent is running 2 Han Solo. We'll go with the thematic choice here. It's obviously got Han and Carbonite on it. So let's say you remove one of the Han Solo dice. Your opponent is only going to be able to then, when they activate Han, only be activate one die and whatever upgrades are on Han. I believe they can still activate whatever upgrades that were on it initially. So they could basically just say activate the character, not roll the character die, but still be able to roll the upgrades. So they can still use it somewhat, but it limits the amount of dice they're rolling. It limits, what they can do, things like that. And also, if you were to play Prize Possession, and let's say you're playing on the Carbon Freezing Chamber, which was just spoiled, you could lock down both of their dice for an entire round. So again, we'll use Han as the example. Prize Possession on Han, so one of his dice can't be rolled. Claim the battlefield, Carbon Freezing Chamber, and choose the other Han die. That die can't be rolled. So they're only going to be able to roll it like upgrade cards essentially, which could still do some stuff, but obviously it's weakening their character by excluding 2 dice if you use Prize Possession with the Carbon Freezing Chamber combination. That's going to do it for today's video. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow with another video. Until next time, take care.